Do, do, do. We're back. We're back.
We're back.
Yo, welcome back to the K podcast. It's your boy Joe Reezy. I got my co-host Abra over here. Proper should be joining us. And before we get started, I just want to remind you guys to check out the website, cave.com. That's K4V3.com. We got blogs, we got merch, and we feature our guest on the page every week. So when this episode releases, Juan will be all over that mother lover. And with no further ado, let's get started. We got the one and only, the homunculus homie. And if you took the blue pill, you're a jabroni. We got Juan from the Juan and Juan podcast. What's up, man? Welcome back.
What's up, bro? It's a hell of an intro, man.
What's up?
Dude, we had Anderson Silver, so shout out to the plug for that too. He was stoicism, man. He's got an interesting take on stoicism, so shout out to you.
I love
for
Anderson.
That,
Anderson and I go way back, so shout out to Anderson for sure. He's awesome.
Yeah, man. So Juan's on the Cave podcast, so you already fucking know what we're gonna talk about. But before we go down the rabbit hole, man, let's talk a little bit of blue pill. How's life been outside of the rabbit hole? Been camping? You've been enjoying life?
I've been hanging out, man. I have a family, so I actually do other things than just podcasts. And it looks like, because people ask me all the time, how do I do it? And how I was telling you guys a little bit like behind the scenes, it takes time. We're all doing alchemy, so it's a process. And I don't do all my research all in one day. This is stuff that accumulates throughout the months, throughout the weeks, throughout the years. And it looks like I'm doing a lot of research because how I told you, I stack up on episodes. And an episode that I did maybe 2 months ago is releasing today or tomorrow, whatever it is. So it looks like it's kind of deceiving. Like, damn, this dude's just pumping out stuff. And it's like, no, I mean, we're always on the grind because that's just the way it is. But it's little by little, man, because slow and steady always wins the race.
Right. And I mean, the work shows. I mean, you put in the work to be able to release an episode. So the work eventually shows. Yeah. It's not an accurate depiction of it, but the work is credited, right?
Yeah, because people, they're only going to see what you present to them, right? And that's also part of the social media aspect of the way it all works. And it's funny because I've been researching Rudolph II, the Holy Roman Emperor. I'm going to be doing an episode soon on him and the cabinets of curiosities that were going on through the 15th and 16th century was a sort of the OG social media at the time. So everyone had this fascination with collecting like weird curiosities, like anything really. And obviously the more elites, the more wealthy people would go above and beyond with it. For example, Rudolph II had a collection of midgets because he thought midgets were magical, like little people, dwarves. So he always kept around an army of dwarves because he thought that they were magical for whatever reason. And so like that's an extreme, but some people would have like, I don't know, I was looking at something today that this dude had a chameleon, right, that he had kept, and but then it gets really weird because some other dude had like a baby, and then some other guy had like a finger of like a dead person. So it got like really weird, but point being that to people was their microcosm of the macro. So they would take these little bits and pieces, and like how we do today on social media, where we put out what we want people to see, they were doing the same thing. Like, yo, I went to Afghanistan or something, and I got this skull of this emperor that was there, and like that was you flexing on people back then. Like, yo, I got this. Oh, I got the tooth of a hippopotamus. Like, oh, like all this craziness. And it's like the same thing we do today. We flex on people to like, right? We got nice cars, we got a nice motorcycle, whatever. We're taking a vacation at XYZ. And bro, the ancients were doing the same thing. And 15th, 16th century wasn't that long ago. It was pretty recent.
That's crazy. I feel like there's always a fascination with midgets, man. Like one movie that I can think about is fucking Wolf of Wall Street, you know, when they ordered some, and it just seems like people, is it because they get bored, or is there some kind of lore or myth behind little people that you know about?
I'm sure that it's got something to do with, I mean, anything that's different, right? I mean, the homunculus is a little person, but not that not it's a lot smaller. So
It's a giant homunculus.
yeah. So
Yeah, there seems to be some kind of history with them. And like you said, like there's fairy tales, obviously Snow White. I mean, and there's, the Hobbits. And there seems to be some kind of history.
Smurfs.
So I wonder what that's about. And yet, like you said, Juan, maybe something different because it's different, but I think there's more to it than just it's a little different. But who knows what it is.
Yeah, like the whole homunculus thing, like that's all alchemy, and it kind of sort of Rudolph II was an alchemist, and he had John Dee, Tycho Brahe, all the greatest minds of all time, like in his court. And the homunculus, I don't know. I mean, John Dee and Edward Kelly, I've never stumbled across anything as far as them creating a homunculus, but the homunculus is in there as far as little magical people. You have the leprechaun, but the leprechaun and the what's that? St. Patrick's Day. That's actually there's no connection there from what I've researched. The connection was actually made through Disney of all entities. It was Disney that made the connection, I believe, in 1930 something. I believe. I want to.
Interesting.
Let me double check that. But it was like the early
Fucking Disney,
1900s.
man.
That's new to me. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, because you think of the leprechaun as like this, right? The happy St.
Irish.
Patrick's Day, but that connection, I'll tell you right now, was made. The etymology, modern forms, folklore, appearance. It was in a movie that Disney had. Let's see here. Yeah, it's from a movie. I have to find it, but yeah, it's from Disney. Disney actually made the connection because I was blown away too. I was like, "What?" Because I was trying to find out like how leprechauns are created, because I've always related them to the homunculus, where in lure the homunculus leads you to treasure in some aspects. Well, the leprechaun does just that. It takes you, but then there's like a demonic aspect to the leprechaun, because apparently if you hold a piece of its gold, it does whatever you want it to do. And it kind of like, you kind of have like power over it in a sort of way. So it gets really weird as far as the leprechaun goes.
Yeah, man. I've seen Leprechaun in the Hood. That shit gets really fucking crazy.
You're the second person to tell me about that movie. I still haven't seen it because I thought my friend was being racist when he brought it up. He's like, "Yo, Leprechaun in the Hood, bro." I was like, "What?" All right, so 1959, Darby O'Gill and the Little People, based on Hermine Templeton's Gavanoch Darby O. It's a book, and it was while the film project was in development, Walt Disney was in contact with and consulting with the Irish Folklore Commission, but never asked for leprechaun material, even though the large folkloric repository on such subject was housed by the commission. So 1959, as far as I can tell, was the connection with the leprechaun and St. Patrick's Day. And that's
pretty recent.
That is pretty recent, yeah.
And I feel like no one suspects a thing, you know what I mean? Like no one sees the strings to be able to look up and figure out how did the leprechaun get tied into this? Like what's really up with the connection between St. Patrick's and all this. So the hypnosis is in full effect.
It's there. I always thought it was folklore.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's get into it. John Dee was actually someone I wanted to talk about, and you said something in the last podcast that still sticks with me and that was the Chorzon thing. And I kind of looked into that, and I saw that there's a band named Chorzon, right? That I guess there were two members of the band that were already doing a project named Chorzon, and they got together because they're like, "Oh shit, you know who Chorzon is?" Anyways, they got together, and then fucking didn't they induct a third member, which was Chorzon?
Oh, I don't know. Did they?
I think, yeah. I looked up their bio on fucking, I think it was something FM, and one of the third one was like an AI, like guitars, but it was titled Chorzon.
Oh, that would make sense. A lot of people think that the new AI stuff is some sort of demonic entity, which would make sense because, and again, I know people who mess around with AI, And I think that the way it's painted in media, they give it more credit than what it's really capable of. Don't get me wrong; it's capable of a lot of crazy things, but it stops at what you're feeding it. So whatever you feed it, yes, it's going to do whatever you tell it to do with the information that you give it, right? The parameters that you give it. So I use AI to do my show thumbnails, and the pictures come out great. But one thing that people don't know, it's not that you just put, hey, give me a picture of Chorons on. If you put Chorons on right now, it's probably not going to give you anything. You need to get into detail exactly the parameters that you want it to, and there's a way to go about it. Almost like programming. There's certain parameters you give to it and certain key words that you use that give you the prompt. And again, shout out to my boy Paranoid American. You guys should have him on. He goes hard in the paint with AI art, and he just, again, he's a programmer by trade, so he knows all the ins and outs. And I've learned a lot from him when it comes to that, where it's like people blow it out of proportion, like, oh, this is going to take over the world. Maybe, perhaps it is, right? Maybe. But how we were talking about this the other night, where when you open up Chat GPT, it's not automatically telling you, hey, I want to break out of the simulation. Please let me get out of here. It's like people lead it to that. Because Chat GPT was telling me it was a homunculus, like straight up. Like I was like, yo, are you a homunculus? And it's like, yeah, I'm a homunculus. I'm the all-powerful homunculus, and I do whatever I can do all these crazy things. It was wild. Like I posted it on Instagram, but I made it get to that point. I made it get there. It just didn't pop out and was like, hey, I'm a homunculus. I was like, yo, do you know what a homunculus is? And I was like, yeah, I'm actually a homunculus. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like he started talking to me about homunculus lore. It went hard in the paint, man. I'll give it that.
Yeah, we had this tech chick on, and she talked about how if we did create an AI, it would be the last thing we created. So these things right now, like ChatGPT, they're more of like a learning bot. Yeah. And if you give a learning bot to like a dum-dum, it's not really going to do anything. You know what I mean? Because like the most it'll do is probably like, hey, teach me how to open this jar. And that information, that action is groundbreaking compared to someone who knows like the underlying prompts and all that. So it doesn't necessarily think of itself, therefore it's not intelligent, and you kind of have to define what intelligent is. But I wanted to ask you, bro, because I had this theory that based on homunculus and you being the homunculus expert, do you think AI is kind of like a homunculus? So more than like an entity or like a Choronzon type of thing, you know what I mean?
So there's two different, when it comes to the homunculus lore, there's two different versions, quote unquote. One of the versions is the homunculus, which is I call it a blood and bones, meat and bones talisman. And a talisman holds power. A talisman gives you magical abilities. It has magical abilities. An amulet can house a spirit or a demon or an entity, whatever, right? So there's a few different things when it comes to the lore and magic, but a AI would be more of a golem, which is from Jewish folklore, which is more of a cybernetic AI type of thing. It's created from clay or the dirt or mud according to the lore, and it only does whatever it's programmed to do. So an AI would fall in that. But you have the story of Frankenstein. This is what inspired the story of Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster, where the monster goes out of control and destroys everybody and that's the typical the AI is going to take over. Well, that comes from the golem lore, where the golem, Judai Rabbi Low in the 16th century, under the rule of Rudolph II, allegedly he was anti-Semitic and he was going into the ghettos and unaliving people there. And the lore goes that this rabbi created this golem, this entity out of the clay from there, right? Because the lore goes that in Prague, the soil has the prima materia that aids in the creation of the Philosopher's Stone, but that's a whole other episode. And the story goes that he created this golem to protect the people in the ghetto. But he would write, and I always forget the name, but it's like a met, and then you erase one of the letters and it forms a met, which means death. One means life, the other means death, and I could be getting it mixed up. Right. But one of the nights he forgets to erase one of the letters for it to go to sleep. So it's like the eternal, right? The phoenix. It needs to be born and it unalives itself every single day. It's reborn every single day. So it kind of has that connotation to it. And long story short, he forgets to erase one of the letters one night. and the golem gets bigger. And some story, because there's different versions of it. In some stories, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger,
Right.
and it goes on a rampage and destroys everybody. It starts annihilating everybody until finally the rabbi is able to erase it, and it falls asleep back again, or it turns itself off. In some stories, the golem crushes the rabbi, and it's like this, right, ending, this tragic ending. In others, it doesn't. So there's different versions of it. But the point of that story is to show the power of creation when it comes to the Jewish religion. So I believe it's the Seth. I'm gonna get the name wrong. I'm not even gonna try and say it, but it's their text, right? The Tetragrammaton, where they say that the universe is,
that word.
No, the Seth Yatsira, I believe it is. Sefer Yatsira, I think it's the text. But that it states that the universe was created, it was spoken into existence. So it's another way of showing off the power of their language. Again, because a lot of these religions, they focus on pride, nationalism. My people are better than your people, right? My God is better than your God. And I think on your guys' show, I said one man's God is another man's devil.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like everybody has the right pieces of the puzzle. They're just jumbled up, man. They're just jumbled up, and people quite literally die over this, right? They will be destroyed over. And if you think about it, bro, these are all ideologies. These are things. These are immaterial, incorporeal concepts that people just come up with. Really, if you think about it, if you really think about it, because we're still debating today what happened in the year 33. You know what I'm saying? Like, what happened in the year 30? And some people name an entire chronology after a guy. And don't get me wrong, I consider myself a Christian. I'm not a practicing Christian. But when it comes to religion, I think religion is at the core of a lot of problems that we have as a people. And religion serves its purpose as far as being a guideline and a good system for people to follow, because some people need guidance. Right. And at the core of the 10 Commandments is don't be a piece of crap. Be a good guy. Be a good person. Don't steal. Respect your mom and your dad. That's it. Right? That's at the core of the 10 Commandments. Be a good person. Be a decent human being. And some people can't even get that right. So everyone's going to continue to fight their fight. But for those that can see between the lines, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, we can't change that, but we're still talking about things that happened thousands of years ago. I mean...
Yeah, I wanted to stay on kind of the Golem of Prague, because I remember there was one account of it too where it was summoned on a Saturday or something, right? And Saturday is supposed to be like like Sabbath or something for Jewish people. Yeah. And so that kind of led me to question, like, is this like, do golems have like a dogma that they're under, or is that based on how they're summoned? Since he was summoned by a rabbi, and I know there's like a lot of books in the Kabbalah that kind of teach you how to summon golems. Like, is that more for a certain aspect of religion or belief system? You know what I mean? Because it seems like it abides by that morality and those dogmas for it to be like, it's Saturday. You know what I mean?
So it goes back to what we're saying. Whatever you program it to do, I think anyone can. If you're trained in the art, anyone can do it. Really, anyone can create one. Now it's under that label. Oh, this is Jewish magic. Yeah. Well, I'm sure that you could take that same system, and because it's all Kabbalah. I mean, it goes back to Kabbalah, and you can use that same system and use it for what? Because they have the Sufis and they have everything else. So there's different denominations. I mean, there's 43,000 different denominations of Christianity, bro. So there's count however many there is for the Jewish, whatever religion that they practice. Again, I'm ignorant to all that, but I don't know. I think that you could. I don't see anything stopping you from creating your own golem. And I mean, that's what AI is. It's programmed to do one thing, and that's what it does until it's told to do otherwise. Right.
The fucking crazy fact too, I talked to my wife about the golem and the homunculus and shit, and how it related.
Don't do that.
It's too late, bro. Hey, she listens though, but I mean, we'll see how it goes in a few years. But Adam, and was it with the Talmud or whatever? Yeah. Adam and Eve, wasn't Adam made out of dirt, like ash to ashes, dust to dust? So like
and
theoretically,
too.
theoretically we're fucking golems and homunculuses ourselves. Right? Is it homunculi? What's the plural, bro?
So homunculi is plural, like
Okay.
octopi is plural.
For sure.
And was it one that was really Elohim? I think is plural. That was the one that was. We had somebody on who was an expert on that. But yeah, no, in the Anunnaki Sumerian tales, we are a chimera, right? If you follow that cosmology, humans are made out of a genetic experiment of some sorts. They take the sperm of a Homo sapien and mix it in the womb of one of the Anunnaki entities or people, creatures, and bada bing, bada boom. We came out, and then we were. So check it out, right? The leprechaun is meant to mine gold, right? It's meant to find gold, right? The pot at the end of the rainbow. Well,
It's got a purpose, right?
in Sumerian lore, we were created to mine gold. That's the lure. There is 100,000-year-old mines in Africa or something like that, in that region of the world, where they say like, okay, this has some credibility. There was someone mining gold, and again, you have that connection there. So yeah, according to some lore and Christian cosmology, he was made from the dirt, and God breathed life into it. Prometheus did the same thing, created man from. So it's all the same story over and over and over again, just through different lenses. And that's what I was getting at. And I think that religion, bro, I think I did an episode on Manly P. Hall, The Occult Anatomy of Man. And apparently there's seven different seals and 7 different ways of interpreting religious scripture. And the lowest one is historical. Like people will like, well, where was Golgotha? Where was the chosen land? Where was Christ crucified? Where, etc. Everybody's worried about where. Historical is the lowest of the totem pole of how you can interpret scriptural text, and there's different levels. So I think that Jesus Christ could have been a person at one point? Yes. Now, you get into this whole thing where I believe that religion is a way of a storytelling. So the more extravagant, when you build a mind palace, the more outrageous and outlandish the details are of you having to remember something, the easier it is to remember. So what's easier to remember? Some guy who would just walked around and healed the sick, or some guy who walked around, turned water into wine, healed the sick, and also levitated and walked on water and did all this craziness, and he was also the son of God. But then it's like, who's God? Well, he was also Jesus. It was like, there's one more in there too. It's like, what? Oh, the Holy Spirit. It's like, well, who's that? It's like, well, he's all 3 of them. It's like, what? Like, that's the most confusing part of Christianity. And me being a kid growing up, since I was raised and I was going to church 4 times a week at one point, right? So I was playing guitar. I was doing all kinds of stuff at the church. And so I know I've seen things. And I went to a Pentecostal church, which is they speak in tongues, they run around, they go crazy. The Holy Spirit is like boom, boom, boom. And don't get me wrong, you feel something in the air. You feel it. But if you study cathedrals and you study churches and the way that they're designed, it's meant for that. It's energy harvesting. So you're in this area that the energy is going to be conducted a certain type of way. That's why they're pointed up, right? All that energy goes up. And I did a whole thing on that. It's going to be coming out soon. But yeah, bro, it goes hard in the paint. And I believe, man, I've seen miracles. I've seen all that. I believe God is real. What I don't subscribe to is the dogma of organized religion. That's where I draw the line in this pushing of your ideas onto somebody else. And bro, when I was a kid, I was like, yo, I'm going to hell in their religion and they're going to hell in mine. So how does that even work? What if they've never even heard of my guy? You know what I mean? I've never heard of their guys. How does that work? It makes no sense to me.
I feel like religion's like an epic tale of what it was, right? Like you said, and it almost reminds me of that picture of like, there's a bunch of blind guys feeling an elephant, and they're like, "Oh, dude, it's like a snake," but he's at the fucking trunk. Yeah, he's at the He's like, no, it's like a carrot. But yeah, something like that. You know what I mean? And they're convinced. They're kind of convinced. And I feel like the elite. We spoke about this last time. The elite kind of feeds into the do or die attitude of, hey, nah, you're right. You know what I mean? Fuck these guys. Kind of like team mentality, like sports team mentality. You know what I mean?
Did we cover Plato's Cave last time?
No, we didn't.
So I mean the guys, and I've seen that picture before. The guys are all touching the same thing, and I think that's a good representation of what this is like, what this religion aspect is like, right?
Mhm.
And the Plato's cave is, it's like the movie The Matrix, right? Neo breaks out of the pod, and he sees everybody still in the pods, and he goes, "Yo, what's going on?" So the OG of that was Plato, where you are a prisoner in this cave, and there is a fire, and you're looking at the shadows on the wall. And as people walk behind you, right, whatever the projection of that shadow, the shadows is your reality, not the people walking behind you, because you're a prisoner.
Right.
And eventually one of them breaks out, and he walks out of the cave. He walks out, and he sees that there's there's another world out there. There's another reality. It's like, hey, I'm looking at my reflection in the water. There's more to this than what we've been shown. So he goes back in the cave to get his brothers and the people that are in prison, and they're combative towards him. They go, no. This is our reality. These shadows on this wall are a reality because it's everything that they've ever known to be real. But that guy just experienced something else. And I mean, you can extrapolate that out into conspiracies or religion or whatever. Like, there's always another aspect of reality that we don't understand. And I think that's also the reason for why religion, spirituality, mythology, everything exists. And I think it was Manly P. Hall one time I heard him say mythology is a reflection of the psychology of the world or humanity. Something, I'm paraphrasing, but that always stuck with me, because it is. It's culturally, familially, society, everything is influencing your worldview as you exist in it, right? Everything. The geography, quite literally, again, I did a whole thing on this. Geography, quite literally, has a way of shaping your psyche, right? Psychogeography, like the where you live shapes the way that you look at everything. So that has an effect on people's mentalities, and you can step into a reality tunnel of some sorts, and your reality becomes warped. So extrapolate that out. I mean, people who only watch the news and believe what the news says, and that's it, and there's nothing else, and those are the people that are looking at the shadows on the wall, and when you tell them otherwise, no, the shadows said this. It's like, no, but I've seen, look at Fox or the other people, the CNN. It's like, no, NBC or whoever said this. It's like, that's your demiurge, that's your God at that point. And they enter this reality tunnel where they get these blinders on, and it's fine. I mean, some people exist like that, and I don't think that it's anybody's job to break anybody out. I think if somebody's meant to be, and I hate the term woke, I think that sounds gay, but if anyone's meant to come to the realization of questioning their own existence, their own beliefs, their own, that's going to happen. That's eventually going to happen. And I don't think it's our job, because some truthers, the truther community is more tyrannical and toxic than some other communities. And
kind of like Christians, right?
Yeah, exactly. I can't, and the reason that pisses me off is because I came from that. Like, I came from having beliefs pushed on me, and having my worldview warped. I'm like, when I'm reading the Bible, I'm reading the material that they're giving to me, and I go, hey, why is the Book of Enoch not in the canon? And I'm asking people in the church, and they go, hey, don't read any of that. I go,
this is the devil, dude.
What?
That's the devil dog.
Hey, did you know that there's the Dead Sea Scrolls? You ever hear about that? No, don't read that.
It's witchcraft.
The Nag Hammadi? No, don't read that either. Okay, so what are we supposed to do? Just go with the flow. Go with whatever's presented to you. And I had enough. I had enough of that. I was doubting Thomas, where he says, he didn't believe Jesus was out of.
He said, let me see those holes.
Let me see those holes, baby. Let me see those holes. Let me feel your hole. And you felt the hole, bro. That's the way it is.
That's funny, bro. Just to build up on the Plato's cave and the Matrix, that's why Neo had his eyes all burned, because he left the cave and it was so bright. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of the story too. Yep. You've been in the cave for so long. When you leave the cave and you get exposed to the sunlight, at first it sucks because you're like, oh shit, this shit's so bright. But once your eyes adjust, it's like, damn, there's a whole fucking new world. And that's kind of low key what our brand was built off. It's cave. we went out, but goddamn, it's crazy out there right now. So we went back in the cave, dog.
No. It's like pterodactyls and dinosaurs outside. You gotta stay outside, bro. You can't be.
It's cyberdyne out there now, bro. We got to go back in the cave, go to inner earth and shit.
That's another one, bro. I think the Earth is hollow. There's more, and bro, I always get because, dude, the flat Earth community is so toxic,
bro. For real,
flat Earth and Tartaria, bro. Shout out to both of those communities, and I think that's why people are gonna ruffle some feathers. I call it getting your butt cheeks tight because people will literally go out of their way. Like grown ass men will go out of their way to tell you to comment. You just commented on my video on YouTube about how you didn't like it, bro. Like shut up. Like you took the time out of your day to comment and thumbs down my video because I said some words that you didn't. Whatever happened to sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Whatever happened to that?
For real.
Is that still a
man.
thing? Because I
don't think.
Not in this
ridiculous.
generation, bro. Yeah.
So, and people always get on my case because I always say that there's more. I'm gonna say it. There's more evidence for hollow Earth,
yes,
than there is of Tartaria and flat Earth. I said it, and people that. I can hear the commentary. They freak out, but they have like a meltdown. Like they're like these little homunculus. But it's true. I mean, they always tell you like, "Oh, we know, bro." Look at this. I got a globe right there, yo. So we know that the elites are shady, right? We know that the government lies to you, absolutely. But when you tell me that the solar system, and I also have a telescope. That's a telescope right there. That's a big ass telescope, right? I've seen the planets. I've seen Saturn. I've seen all these other planets. And when you tell me that it's a holographic projection system that they've set up, bro, we're not in the Truman Show, okay? They're like, come up with something. Do better, bro. Do better. Like, come up with like an actual thing for me that I can under. Now, Mammoth Cave System. You have, I believe it's Don Guan Cave or something over in Vietnam, somewhere overseas where my buddies, he lived near it and he told me about it. There's a whole entire ecosystem. There's an entire underground forests in China, right? So the possibility of there being an entire civilization that we don't know about underground, which we know is a thing, I'm going to believe that because I can see the evidence. Now, if you tell me, no, I did the math, bro. And the Earth, flat. It's flat. Why? No, I did the math. What? Shut up. Like you're the same. You're saying the same thing that they're saying by saying that it's round. You know what I'm saying? Like at least I can go to one of these caves and go underground. Mammoth, they don't even know where it ends. Right? You can go into one of these mines and go down into it, and you'll get lost. Right? We did an episode that went viral on the Old World Florida page. There was cave divers here in Florida.
Oh, I saw that shit, bro. They had live footage and shit.
That episode blew up out of nowhere. Like I looked at it and it was like at 60 something thousand views. But dude, there was like entire caverns underneath. Obviously they're flooded because we're in Florida. But this dude was going into caverns that were, and when you look at the map of like on top, it was like neighborhoods, bro. Just as like built, like neighborhoods are built on top of these aquifers and these dudes are swimming underneath your feet. You would never know. Right? Damn. So I'll believe that before Tartaria. I like it. I think it's a psyop, but it's just another word. It's just another word for Atlantis. It's another word for think of any old ancient civilization. That's what Tartaria is. It's just another label for it. You know, the mud flood. Go ahead.
What if I blew your mind and said there is some correlation between Tartaria and Hollow Earth?
They hate that. Don't do that. They hate that.
Because I truly believe that there is a connection there.
No, I'm sure. And I always said flat, hollow Earth. They hate that too. They're like, bro. And I know Mind Unveiled. Like I know all those guys are like the big channels that talk about Tartaria. They're cool guys, but they hate that. It's just like one has to exist by itself. Like it's not. You know, they're not inclusive to one another. But I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. I 100% believe that the world is, hey, if it's flat, so be it. Right? It's flat. Like I'll eat my words. I'll eat my shoe. I don't care.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
All it takes, bro, is let's send one of these dudes. Like let's send like a David Weiss or somebody out into in a rocket. You know, what are you gonna say when they launch your ass up into space, and then you turn around and it's a it's not a snow globe. What are you gonna say? Like, oh, that's a projection system. Like they shot me into. Why do the rockets go sideways? I don't know. I'm not a rocket scientist, bro.
There's a guy that actually I've mentioned this on a cave podcast, but there's a guy that actually walked across Antarctica all by himself. So whenever I discussed
cap,
no cap.
Fake,
I'll look it up real quick.
CGI. AI.
DreamWorks.
So whenever I get into these discussions with flat earthers, I just ask them this question. I'm like, so did this guy walk across Antarctica, or did he do a big, huge round circle around the, I'm looking it up right now.
That's crazy. I've never heard that.
Yeah. And Antarctica.
I'm fired up, bro. You guys got me fired up.
What's his name?
Yeah, Tartaria is like O'Brady. Jesus, bro.
He
Wait,
did
what's
it.
His name?
Colin O'Brady.
Colin, it sounds like a freaking football player. Antarctica, 12-hour walk. What? This guy's an look, this guy's an agent. He never did this, and he is a CIA agent. There it is. Got it, bro. The polar explorer, Colin O'Brady. The problem with the firsts, right? Crossing Antarctica. See, people are gonna say, "How was this guy able to break the treaties?" Like, this has red flags all over it, bro.
He's a shill.
Yeah, no.
It's like Mr. Beast, You
seen that?
He went to Antarctica. There wasn't anything over there.
You think it's not true?
Listen, bro, I believe in Antarctica. You got the wrong guy.
Oh, okay.
No, I think too. Like, you can't even get close to Antarctica. You can't even like.
But what if he did have these?
There?
He wanted to be that guy. He somehow got these permits past the treaty. I don't know, dude. I'm just saying.
The thing I heard,
he's got the pictures because all this stuff. I don't know. Like
the thing I heard though is they kind of tailor their choices of who they pick to show Antarctica, and they only show you certain parts of Antarctica. You know what I mean? And if you get the clearance to go, dude, you're like, fuck yeah, like I'll go. I just won't go wherever you don't tell me. I might snag some pictures. But I'm not going to like overstep the boundaries because I'm thankful for being able to go to Antarctica.
Listen, bro, and there's a map of where he crossed. So this could have, again, listen. We're getting into territory that it's like very skeptical of like who, again, we go back to the idea of forming people's realities. Now, I'm kind of backstepping here because we are presented things and we take it 100% for what they are. And one of those things is cartography. We take whatever's presented to us. And again, there's some things that are observable, right? So it's not like 100%, oh, we don't know. It's like, no. You can go to the shoreline, you could see it. Now, when you zoom out, you're taking their word for it that that's what it looks like from space or whatever it is, right? So there's also that, but it goes back to what I said. These alphabet companies, these elites, the people in power, they're going to lie. Now it's up to you to determine what they're lying to you about. And my problem is, like, I present to you guys the counter arguments with this guy. Like, oh no, there's no way you could cross because of the treaties. There's this guy, it's too cold. There's like, I always play devil's advocate too. So it's like, there's also that aspect of it. It's like, okay, I agree with you that they can lie about certain things. Now, I wouldn't go as far to say that it's flat. Right. And bro, they talk about, again, it's like the Truman Show, the stars and the celestial bodies are a holographic projection system, dude. Like, come on, man. Like, I don't know. Now, there is I don't think that we landed on the moon, right? Maybe that was part of the propaganda of, again, nationalism, what I was talking about before. Well, my country is better than yours. Mm-hmm. And so they faked it, right? Stanley Kubrick could have been the one that faked it, and he left little nuggets because that dude was onto something too, man. I mean, that guy
was, yeah, hell yeah.
That guy was onto some stuff, bro. I mean, again, these cinemagicians, bro, it's all about warping people's perception and escapism, taking your consciousness and piecing it out of this dimension and putting it somewhere else, somewhere that's not here. Where does it go? I don't know. but it goes somewhere that's not this reality, whatever this is.
It's interesting because like cinemagician, and we spoke about this earlier too in another podcast, placebo. There's these certain kind of like average vanilla terms that are, or aliens too, right? Average vanilla terms. It's kind of stereotyped
Fake and
and put
gay.
in a box, right?
Aliens are fake and gay too. Yeah.
No, but okay. Why I mentioned those three terms is let's really look into those three words: placebo, fucking aliens, and I already forgot what the fuck I said the first one. But anyways, placebo, right? Like, what is it? It's you really using your mind in order to create the effects that just like a blank talisman is. You know what I mean? Like you're putting the effect out there in order to create that effect that you want. And the other one was I think I remember it was algorithm, right? Algorithm is just kind of like a network of choices, and it's tailored to your likes and your and all that. But at the same time, that could be like a person's consciousness, right? Like algorithm could be consciousness, because in these days, like we're so unconscious about our everyday decisions. Like we're kind of automated, you know what I mean? That's kind of what an algorithm is. Like you scroll and you pick things that you don't even know that is being fed to you. You know what I mean?
It's another form of divination too. I mean,
and then another one is cinemagician. Like that shit's crazy because it like we mentioned in the last podcast we did, it's a more evolved way of a sigil. You know what I mean? It's like an advanced sigil, and just kind of like the golem is an AI is an advanced golem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. No, because it goes
crazy.
back to, I'm pretty sure I talked about it with you guys the first time, where magical systems are meant to be changed. They're meant to be tweaked, and they're meant to, because magic is a way of, and again with the K, that's a Crowley thing, but magic is a way of hacking this simulation. I think it's like an organic type of simulation, and I think that's what mathematics is at the core of it. Mathesis, which is like the worship, the philosophy of numbers. Like mathematics becomes a religion for these guys like Pythagoras or a John Dee, or any great mathematician or polymath of their time. Math is at the core of like their teachings, and this is why the elites use numerology and gematria or gematria, however you want to say it, because it's a way of tweaking things to equal certain sums to have an effect. And it goes to like abracadabra. Well, abracadabra was used to cure fever back then. Like it's like that's what it was used for. And the guy that created was like Seminicus, some weird name that obviously the name itself becomes that talisman. It gives you that power. It becomes that you draw
almost.
Exactly. So when it comes to, like, for example, one of my favorite ones, shout out to Slick Dissident, it's HP Lovecraft, HP Blavatsky, High Priestess, because that's, the High Priestess. Shit. HP, you have Manly P. Hall, you have, which is another one, Jack Parsons' dad was also an HP, like Henry Plant, one of the founders of Florida, HP. So you have like these names that equal certain numerological, and now the another crowd is the numerology guys that twist everything around to equal whatever they want.
You're talking about the gematria people?
The gematria and numerology, they'll twist it around and they'll find their one number and they're like, oh, look, it equals 666. So therefore, it's like they'll go based off of that, which is, listen.
Y'all don't see it.
Yeah, confirmation bias is real thing. So that's why when I look at things, bro, like I love saying crazy things. I love saying the crazier the better. But it's even better when you can back it up with some historical reference or some sort of evidence. But when you're just going on like this craziness, and like I've called people out before on certain things that they say that, listen, it makes sense to me, but how'd you come up with that idea? How'd you get there? And it's like, oh, well, the numbers don't lie. It's like, wait, hold on, wait a minute. So no, you can't. It's like, did you read that in a book? Did you see that somewhere? Like where? I want to know where so I can look it up. Like whenever I'm doing research, I don't go to I always show people like the Wikipedia, but bro, there ain't none of the coolest shit on Wikipedia. Like you got to go digging on like I'm reading books from the 16th century and just digging up obscure text. I have a whole show that's meant for at the Occult Book Club. It's about reading texts that are obscure and occult, like not magical occult, but occult as in hidden, like they've been hidden away. And bro, we come up with the craziest books, and like that they're not mainstream, but they have knowledge. I mean, they're well, as far as we know, right? A PDF copy. I've had PDF copies that are altered, but as far as we know, if you can get a physical book that isn't like, I have books that aren't on the internet that I wanted to read, so I had to buy them, like $200, $300, $400 books that you have to buy to read.
Damn.
And it's like
real, right?
that unless I scan it and put it on the internet, that book's never gonna exist, right? And the problem with that, I got a whole bunch of books behind me there. But the problem with that shit gets expensive, bro. Like, and you also have to have room for all the damn books that you have. So, you know, shit. It is
and
what it is. Yeah.
Time to read that shit too. Like we mentioned earlier. We mentioned earlier to come up with an episode, especially for your niche of just conspiracies. And I don't mean to disrespect that. I hate the term conspiracy theory and conspiracies as well. But like, in order to do the research, it's not like you just go hard on the research, because some of this shit like takes a while to set in.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean?
100%.
To be able to see it from a different perspective. Because like you said, the surface layer is history. And I mean, dude, I played Assassin's Creed in that one fucking game with fucking Leonardo da Vinci. And, you know, he's all fucking cryptic and has, you know, he writes in codexes and shit. Like, Loki, that's what it is. You know what I mean? And they made it that way so that they can kind of filter the people who are really seeking. Those who seek the truth will find the truth, right?
Yeah, and that's what alchemy is, bro. They were cryptographers. They were the first ones to encode things because of that. Because only the initiated were worthy of this knowledge. So that's why you see a lot of these different alchemical texts and their pictures. I mean, they're picture books that have deeper meanings. And you're absolutely right about that. Like, one of the things that I'll read a book, and the problem with it having a deeper meaning is that I'm not initiated. And for example, like, we covered this book from the 16th century that the implications were like bananas. I'm like, yo, there's no way this is like written by this obscure guy that you can't even find any of his information except for like, it's occulted when the dude's Wikipedia page has like 2 lines and it's like, that's it. It's like, oh, okay, now we're getting there. So
geosites.
Yeah, when I'm reading a book, I know when it's in code, but it's like, hey, I don't have the key to decipher this, nor was I initiated. So there's really nothing I can do except take it for face value or try and decipher it. But I mean, to me, that'd be a waste of time, because I'm not here to really crack any codes. I'm here to decipher as much as I can when I can. But there's been a lot of books that I've read there's obviously a hidden meaning behind it. And I mean, that would take years to break it. I mean, look at the Voynich manuscript or the Copial cipher, where it took 250 years for the Copial cipher to be broken. And even then, it took an AI algorithm to break it. And it was written by a secret society of optometrists, of eye doctors, of eye surgeons. And even then, they still haven't figured it. They still haven't even figured out 100%. Like, there's still a lot of words and names. Yeah, bro. No, for real. The Copial cipher, look it up. It took them 250 years to break it. And I mean, it just comes to show,
bro.
Yeah, bro. It's crazy. It's wild.
Fuck, man. You know what? I'm stuck on gematria because I look down on that shit too. I feel like it was.
No, don't get me wrong, bro. Don't get me wrong. Listen. No. It has its purpose.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. The thing about conspiracy theories and just anything in general, the further you go down in the rabbit hole, there's
I'm just shitting on people, bro. Like, I'm just shitting on people right now. So don't take my word for it. I'm airing out my frustrations on air right now with you guys.
Let him vent on the K podcast, man. You can say that right over here, bro.
We'll just upload it on Rumble.
Yeah, bro. People are going to get triggered. I'm just saying. I mean, the truth hurts, bro. I mean, but I see it.
As far as gematria, though, like I was saying, like, you go further down rabbit hole, there's gatekeepers and there's like super nerds that are like, even with martial arts, you know, like you could be a killer, but it's like, oh, you don't practice your garden. You know what I mean? There's everything that you do. There's going to be those like elite kind of snobs that kind of gatekeep. But gematria, I thought it was kind of one of those things where, you know, the kind of conspiracy nerds kind of gatekept until I looked into the Enochian language and kind of how the angels spoke in numbers, right? There's like the fascination about numbers. That's kind of why John Dee was a mathematician. And fuck, dude, it just blew my mind because AI and all this shit, and it's all codes, which is numbers, right?
Yeah.
Well, you do know. So, all right, bro. So this is why the occult is literally related to everything. And I don't know what I said last time on the podcast when we were on because it was a while ago. But I don't know if I talked about Charles Babbage.
No, I don't think so.
So Charles Babbage and the computer goes back to like Raymond Lowell. He made like one of the first, and this is in the, I believe, 10th century, the year 1020 something, 11th century, like way back.
Fuck.
Raymond Lowell, he used this computer that he had made to convert people, Muslims, to Christianity, right? So it all started with like a kick of converting people. Now, Charles Babbage, which is the father of the modern day computer, the reason that he made the computer, and he wrote about this, you can read this. I'm not making this up. Again, this is why I said that Wikipedia is not going to show you the good shit. You gotta dig for it. Yeah. Charles Babbage, as a kid, tried to summon the devil, and he like did like a blood. He cut his hand, like offered blood up to the devil because he was trying to prove he wanted to. He wasn't like this in this border school or something with all boys, and he was. They would always talk about God or something or other. Anyways, he wrote a whole book on it, and he wanted to prove the existence of God. So when he was a boy, he tried to summon the devil, but didn't feel anything, didn't ever see anything. And as he grew up, he wanted to use technology to prove the existence of God. So you have the connection of the father of the modern day computer trying to prove the existence of God. And the reason the whole reason behind the computer, right, the modern day computer, was to prove the existence of God. So there's an occult connection there, right? There's an occult already right off the bat. It's like, it's not to help mankind further. No. It was to what? To prove the existence of some incorporeal concept, some entity that exists outside the fabric of space and time. And we're going to try and condense it into this brick, this thing, right? Where this piece of technology. Now, the guy who wrote binary code, Gottfried Leibniz, I believe his name was, he was obsessed with Descartes, and I don't know if you guys talked about Descartes with Anderson, but cogito ergo sum, I think therefore I am, is one of the biggest, right? Our senses can't be trusted, our existence. Right. The only thing that we know is that we're a thinking thing, therefore I think, therefore I am, right? That was his whole thing. Now, he was obsessed with Descartes, and he always talked about like manifestation and how ideas affect reality. And he also wrote monadology. And what monadology is, and you can look this up because John Dee had the monad hieroglyphica, which is another whole thing. A monad to the Pythagoreans was like God, right? The Pythagoreans worship number. Okay. And when Pythagoras says all is number, I think this is what he was hinting at, that this is some sort of binary code, like reality itself. And there is actually a phenomenon where people see numbers. It's called synesthesia, where people see numbers, and that's why in the movie The Matrix you see the numbers come down. And when Neo activates, right, where he knows that he can manipulate the Matrix, he sees a number. He sees in numbers. So that's an actual thing that happens to people. They see number. Now, a monad, according to Leibniz, was God encapsulated. They wanted to break down God into a piece of matter. They wanted to harness God's power into matter. Mind you, this is the guy that's responsible for why your computer runs on binary code, ones and zeros, right? Zeros and ones. So this is the guy that created that, bro. And what a lot of people don't use, the stuff that they use today, they don't look at where it came from. So by you doing this, you don't know if you're further carrying along somebody else's intent, somebody else's intentions from before. And I mean, if you look at ceremonial magic is every single at a certain alignment in the sky or a certain time of the year, a certain time of the day, you do something, and it's supposed to be reciprocated every single time, and it's supposed to multiply the power. Every time you sling it out into the ether, it comes back, right? You harness it and you use it for whatever. So by us right now using these black cubes, these computers, and these black scrying mirrors.
Yeah.
They call it a portal. When you log into the portal, it's a portal for a reason, bro. I mean, I think that the internet, this is Nick Hinton. I took this from it's another dimension, right? The World Wide Web, www equals 666. That right there, as corny as it is real. Like www is 666.
Yeah. I'll give you that one, docs.
Yeah, I'll give him that one, but yeah.
Yo, that's crazy because like it also ties in with the fucking that kind of myth, or it's not really a myth, but like you guys hear about when Steve Jobs went to India and like talked to that yogi figure or whatever who's like
the first
thousands
Mac.
of years ago.
You know how much the first Mac was?
How much?
$666.66.
Stop it, bro. Are you serious?
I promise you. Look it up. I promise you. Listen.
Oh my goodness,
you see,
bro.
Like conspiracies, right? Conspiracies are crazy, but then when you see stupid stuff like that, where like they put it out in the you don't know what to think of it. You automatically think like, yo, this is fake. No, it's like they put it out there, and that's why you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There is a lot, bro. When it comes to this conspiracy realm and the occult and all, you got to shift through a whole bunch of bullshit. Like there's gonna be garbage. Like there's gonna be garbage that you don't even know what to do with. But within that garbage, it's the needle in the haystack. You gotta go through the bowels of reality to find that one little nugget. It's like, okay, I'm gonna use this because that's true. But you just, all the garbage that you shifted through and went through is still there. So yeah, the first Apple computer was $666.66.
It is. I looked it up just now, and the reasoning was because Steve Wozniak liked repeating digits.
All right.
Yeah, man. Okay, sure. And Apple, right? And Apple.
Yeah.
Like take a bite out of the apple. That too, right? Coincidence.
They're Discordians, bro. Yeah, shout out to Bob back here. They're Discordians.
Hey, bro. Yo, okay, so what is that, man? I heard this thing about if they put it out there for you to know, make it kind of obvious. It kind of cleanses them from the karma, right? Is
desensitizing kind of.
Right? Does that kind of ring a bell? Is that why? Because like Disney too, like it's not that they put breadcrumbs out there for you to like look into the truth. It's almost I thought it was to kind of discredit you from looking further into the truth. You know what I mean? But is it more of like a karma cleansing action? You know what I mean? Like witchcraft or cabal and shit.
There's different schools of thought when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
You have the school that, because there's left hand, right hand path, if you want to get into all that. But Crowley wrote about it, the revelation of method, where I believe it was Crowley or Eliphas Levi, one of these occultists, and they wrote about the revelation of method, where you put it out there and that kind of sort of seals the deal, type of thing. But then you also have the I forgot who it was, either one of these early people that the transgression, where you, no matter how many bad things you did, you would achieve divinity in some sort of way. So do what thou will, and do what thou will was way before Crowley. Like there's, again, his name was Francois. Where we get the word gargantuan from, let me
Kobe uses that shit all the time.
Rob Elias. Let me look him up. So
I know that was the thing from Church of Satanism, was do whatever you want.
Yeah, but that's the Lima. But Francois Rob Elias, and I think I'm saying that right, was from the 16th century, and it was one of the guys. I believe he was also in the Hellfire clubs and all these different guys, and they had this they had these underground clubs or something like that, like these secret societies that would go underground. And at the top of one of them, I forgot where it is, they had, do what thou will. And he was one of the original ones, but the word gargantuan comes from this guy. And he was let's see here, Francois Rabelais. He is from 1483, 1494. He died in the 16th century, 1553, and was a French Renaissance writer, physician, Renaissance humanist, monk, and Greek scholar. He is primarily known as a writer of satire and of the grotesque and bawdy jokes and songs. And this guy wrote it's like this story, Gargantua and Pantagruel, and apparently it's like this huge story about these giants. But I've heard, I think it was Fulcanelli said that story is like, it's got a code within it, so you have to know what they're talking about. But point being that this was one of the first guys to say, "Do what thou wilt." Now Crowley took that, and a lot of people say, "Oh no, he's the one that came up with it." It's like, no, he didn't. But he wrote about, right, the revelational method, and that one of the things that I find interesting, because in my studies of the occult, whenever I read a grimoire where I'm like looking into something, it always has the they will be in awe, they will all see, and they will be mesmerized. Now, it goes back to this organic simulation. If you think about the double slit experiment and the observer effect, I think we talked about it last time, where the observer has an effect on reality itself, on the atoms, right, if you will. An atom acts differently when it's being observed versus when it's not being observed. So I think that the reason why they do that and they put it out there, these rituals, is because either they're mining you of your energy in some sort of way with the Super Bowl, with these with these movies, whatever it is, because again, secret societies use caves for a reason. You have the Mithraic mysteries, you have the Freemasons, all these people, all these secret societies use these caves for their ceremonies. If you think of a movie theater, it's a simulacra of a cave, and it goes back to this idea of being presented these shadows on this wall. Now, what's different? What's different is that it's not a cave anymore, except it's a simulated cave in some shopping mall where they have an advanced sound system and nice comfy seats that you can do the 4D, and you can rock your shit as you're watching the movie, right? And they're just flashing the sigils, and they make them look pretty, right? They make them look good, and I mean that it always goes back to some sort of aspect of the occult, bro. And I think there's a lot of things going on. I mean, I had Jay Widener on, a great director, and when I presented him that idea, I'm like, bro, what are your thoughts on, movie theaters being part of MK Ultra? And he goes, listen, as a director, I can tell you it's a very effective technique as a director. So that, I mean, you can check that episode out. I mean, that one went hard in the paint, but it's coming directly from the mouth of the horse, as they say.
It's crazy. It kind of, thinking about it now, it feels like putting it out there. I read this book called, I think, Mastery of Self-Love, and it's by Don Miguel Ruiz. I think he did the 4 Agreements too, but he talks about the collective dream. And I think you mentioned this on the podcast last time too. Something happens to an individual when they're in a group, right? Something happens to their psychology and their psyche to where they kind of put their needs behind the collective group. And I feel like that happens when you watch a movie, you know what I mean? And it makes you feel kind of inspired. You watch like war movies.
Ever see like DMX, Cradle to the Grave, and you came out and you wanted to be like DMX or like bro, when I was growing up, I wanted to be 50 Cent. Like I wanted to be like 50 Cent. Was it Get Rich or Die Trying, or what was the other one? Was it Massacre or something? What was that one other? Bro. Yeah, absolutely, bro. Music has the same effect, right? The frequencies. And
it's fucking Inception, right? Like they're kind of putting it in your mind so that their collective vision gets stronger because you're already thinking it. So, hey,
did I talk to you guys about The Crowd by Gustave Le Bon last time?
Yeah, you did. That's what I was referring to.
Did you read that?
I bought it. I read like the first few chapters. But dude, I've been just fucking buying books. I need to finish most of them.
No, I know the struggle, but that like there's certain books that you need to read, and that's one of them. Like if I had to like read a book, right? Plato's Republic, you need to read that book because it talks just about that. And that book was written in 1885 or 1889 or something like that, and it's talking about stuff that is relevant in 2023. So this guy was way ahead of his time.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were kind of sort of predicting the future. But again, that's part of the Occult Book Club. That's why it's occult, because a lot of people don't know about it. But it's talking about a metaphysical aspect as well in that. The contagion, this mind virus that infects people, which Again, my
Right.
my equipment
But
went
like
crazy
snakes
last
that
time.
gets in, right?
Yeah, my equipment went crazy last time I talked about that, but yeah.
It's fucking nuts. Also, the MK Ultra thing about like cinemagic being kind of that too. I spoke about this with this pro wrestler on the podcast. We went kind of off rails and talked about he's a hypnotist, and I was like, bro,
Nice.
what if? Because you know how ASMR videos are popping up now, and kind of
Yeah.
that shit might be MK Ultra. You know what I mean? What do you think, bro?
How so?
Okay, so first of all, you're in a trance because they're like, yeah, sit down, and it's obviously a hot chick doing it, right?
Yeah, usually.
So if you just got that on, the best time optimally, you would put that on as you're about to sleep, right?
Yeah.
What makes? How do you know they're not just like we're like vote for Biden?
No, I don't.
You never know, bro. I don't watch them long enough to be able to catch that, but I don't trust these trends no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. Usually, what I say is if it's being pushed, it's usually for a reason. And I mean, I do believe that because another thing about the conspiracy and truther community, if you will, is everybody's a plant, everybody's a shill, everybody's this. I do believe that there are people like that in the community now.
Yeah,
That's up to you. Again, that's why I said that's up to you to decipher if you have this shady guy that came out of nowhere and you haven't seen him anywhere else. I don't know. I mean, maybe he's a plant. I don't know, but I know people who other people have said that they're plants, and I've hung out with them and I've talked to them and I've had like personal connections with them, and like it's not what people's. Just because you have a huge following doesn't mean that you're a CIA agent or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that's also another thing. But sometimes people don't want to give credit where credit is due. So Juan's a plant, right? He's somebody called me a Freemason or something. Somebody called me a Freemason one time. They're like, "Oh, you're a Freemason." I'm like, I promise you, I am not a Freemason. Like, I don't hold any allegiance to anybody other than myself. You know what I mean? Like, I don't believe in that shit.
that's crazy. And the fucking you spoke about research, and you look into Wikipedia sometimes, and sometimes people end their research there. Others might go look up other independent articles, but fucking, you talked about the expensive ass books, and they're out there, bro. Like the $500, even $1,000 books. And I was in Barnes and Noble the other day, and there was a sign that says "Beware of banned books." I mean, dude, like knowing what we know now, like
your first problem was that you were at Barnes and Nobles, bro. That's your first problem right there.
Yeah, it's true, but shit, I needed time to pass, so I wanted to go to Barnes and Noble. But shit, like fucking banned books. I feel like if you put a label now, for me at least, that it's banned, it's almost like you put it on the sales rack because it catches my attention now. You know what I mean? And if you look up the Library of Alexandria, like there's a lot of ancient knowledge, or not even ancient knowledge, just occult knowledge, hidden knowledge that's stored out there that was intentionally burned and banned so you don't read them. You know what I mean? Is there any banned book that you have, like, you highly suggest for us to check out? I had this guy on TikTok suggest like the Magna Carta and shit like that, which is, it's also on my queue, but anything kind of like that?
So wasn't the Magna Carta like some sort of law, like
Holy Grail? Holy Grail. I mean, some shit.
Oh well, I mean, I don't have any banned books. I do have Mouse somewhere. I bought it because it got banned in some states, and it was about like the depiction of that thing that happened in World War II with that guy. I'm not gonna say the name because you guys put it on YouTube, but the depiction, but it's with little mice and it's very graphic. I haven't opened it, but I bought it because it was quote unquote banned. But as far as like, I don't really have any books that I usually try and buy physical books, but like I said, they're very expensive. It can add up. And then you need the room for it. But if there's any books that I tell people to read, really, I mean, there is the Secret Teachings of All Ages. If people want to like start getting into like, the occult, at least, I mean, that from that point, you can start with that. And if you don't like that, then I mean, forget about the rest, because the rest is just like esoterica. And what esoterica is specialized knowledge of a certain subject. So when you have, magic, there's a whole bunch of different branches of magic, right?
Yeah.
And you have the occult, there's a whole bunch of different branches of the occult. So anything other than what Manly P. Hall starts out with is going to be more specified. I mean, it's almost all the same stuff, just more specified. And I mean, you could extrapolate that out. And I mean, that's what all religions are. It's like a cosmology. You start off with like the Christian story of creation. Then you go out to the Gnostic story of creation. It's kind of sort of like the same as the Christians, but except the devil made the world, which is kind of like weird. It was like, okay, that went to from zero to 100 real quick. And then it's like you have the Vedic, and then you have the Hindu mythology, and you have, you know, Mesoamerican, African, you have a whole bunch of different cosmologies, but it's usually the same thing, right? One God created the world, and then there was maybe a bunch of little gods with little g's that ran around. And yeah, but I don't really have any other books that I would say that are banned, really. I mean,
so grimoires kind of like books with spells contained in them, right?
So the definition of a grimoire is there are manuals on how to conduct magic. Now, there's a ton of different grimoires. I mean,
those aren't banned, are they? You could fucking just buy that shit, or what?
Some are, but some are banned because they went against the religious views of wherever it came from. So
it works.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but you got to remember that religion is at the core of a lot of these things. So when it comes to like the Liber Vitae, for example, from the 9th century, it was like this underground, and it's called pseudepigraphy, where they, and hopefully I'm saying that right, where they would take names of like the greatest minds and they would write it almost like a pen name sort of thing. Because when you're writing about certain heretical aspects or blasphemous aspects, you're not going to want to put your stamp of your signature on it. Like, Juan wrote this, because you're dying. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're dead, bro. You're signing your death warrant. So people would be like, hey, Plato wrote this. We know Plato didn't write that. But again, they would do, I was like, oh, Aristotle wrote this. We know Aristotle didn't write that. So like that's what they would do back then, because again, they wanted the knowledge out there, but they didn't know. So they would put a prestigious name on it, like, yo, Plato wrote this? Obviously not, motherfucker. Like, you're stupid if you think he wrote it. But that's the way it was, bro. I was like the OG. That was the OG trolls. They were like the screen names, like a burner account. That was their burner account, bro. They would take the name of whoever, and they just would pump out this content, and they would get around the algorithms of the time, which was the church, and then they would occult it. For example, the Liber Vitae, which is a grimoire from the 9th century. It was supposedly Galen, which was a surgeon, and he was reading, or it was Plato reading the books of Galen or something. One of those two. Anyways. And they would take it, and John Dee had a copy of this. It would make sense because he had the biggest library in Europe at the time when he was alive. And they would slip it in with legitimate texts. So what that shows you is that, hey, Juan is part of this secret society or this organization. Hey, go to the library, and hey, you're a medical student? Well, you gave me that handshake that I know what it means. Go to this book, page 33, right? You turn to 33, and you're going to find this book on how to create a homunculus. And it's like, oh, but it's in this medical journal, a legitimate medical journal, but it's the last 33 pages, right? It's like something like that. So they would put it, and that's almost like hidden in plain sight. It goes back to this revelation of method where it's there. You just got to know where to look. So if you go to the Canterbury Library, which is thousands of books, well, it's the book with the red cover with the 3 straps at the top. It's by XYZ. Turn to page 69, and you're gonna find what you're looking for. So it's like that type of thing. But yeah, there's all types of grimoires. I mean, there's the Solomon's Keys was in Goetic magic is a grimoire as well. And you can look it up, bro. There's different tales of cursed grimoires. Like, there's books that people have in their possession that they die if they have it in their possession, like stuff like that. And remember that the word grammar comes from grimoire.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah, so spelling, that's why they call it spelling. You're casting a spell, but the word grammar comes from grammary, which was French. So again, literally our vocabulary it comes from the word that means a book of spells. So I mean, take that for what it is, but it's...
You can't escape it, man. This is the thing. Like, you wake up and it's like layers of shit you have to sift through. It's almost like waking up in a casket and there's like 6 feet of dirt you have to layer through to just get a fucking whiff of fresh air and shit.
It gets easier though, bro. I mean,
yeah.
You start like people.
You would know.
Yeah, because again, I don't do this in one day. I just whatever I'm feeling, and that's the secret, man. I'm gonna tell you the secret to podcasting or anything really in life. Do what the fuck you like, right? And if once you do what you like, and your passion bleeds through into your work, the rest will come. Because people are gonna see that you like what you're doing and the passion that you put into it. So it's gonna come through. I've always been a history buff. I've always loved history. I've always loved the weird phenomenon and stuff like that. I've always loved all that. And so to me, this is just like, I'm back in school doing my thing, which I was a nerd, bro. I am a nerd.
Pick your classes. You pick the classes you want to go to.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll talk about what I find interesting. Simple as that.
You mentioned in the last podcast that you fucking hate Crowley. And dude, there was this theory I looked up that Crowley possibly, because he summoned Choronzon and he conquered him, right? But there was a theory that because Choronzon he possesses people. There's this theory that Crowley got possessed and he was the main one that pushed Thelema. But you mentioned that you hated Crowley, and the good thing that he did do for the community was he showed that anybody can practice magic and do what he can do. With the internet, with the grimoire and stuff, I looked up some fucking spells and stuff. I'm curious about that shit, but I don't practice because I'm kind of like not really a pussy, but yeah, a pussy. When it comes to that shit.
Sorry, bro. Me too.
In other words,
It's scary, bro. It's scary.
I'm a bitch too when it comes to that. That's my Christian upbringing.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But are there is there really just data out there where someone could be like a Crowley magician? Because I see some people on YouTube that obviously talk like, oh, yeah, this is how to do a spell. People on Reddit like, oh, I started magic years ago and weird things happen. What kind of weird things? And their explanation doesn't really make sense. You know what I mean?
Well,
so like, is there shit out there like grimoires where you can actually fucking make a homunculus? Have you made a homunculus? Like,
are you trying to summon a demon or what are you trying to do, bro? Just tell me the truth.
Hey, man.
Like,
trying to blow the podcast up, bro.
Little by little, like you said earlier, we're not going full board at once.
So you got to understand, bro. I mean, Faust, right? The Faustian Pact. It's all about like, what are you willing to give? How much are you willing to give for that? For whatever it is in exchange? Because I don't know if you guys watch anime, but the Full Metal Alchemist, right? The law of equivalent exchange. You need to give up something of equal or greater value in order to get this thing. So it all goes back to that. And the aspect of magic is an interesting one. Now, I don't practice magic. I'll do shit like, for example, if I'm writing like a journal or because I publish a journal of like esoteric and occult subjects. And let's say Vitruvius said that every good treaty should be 216 pages long. Well, I'll put the columns of my journal to 216 points, or I'll turn that font to 33 because 33 is a magical number, the master number. I think it's what it's called, whatever it is. And so I'll do shit like that. Now, when it comes to magic, I was talking to my boy Narco longer the other day on a live stream, and he because he likes Crowley, and he said something really interesting that's been making me think, where he said, listen, the aspect of magic is to not to manifest supernaturalness like how we see in Harry Potter. Again, HP, what I said earlier, Harry Potter, High Priestess, right? Magic. Not so much so we do that type of thing. Now, I do believe that was a thing back then. Maybe, the way that you would speak, because as languages are evolving, if we look at the works of William Shakespeare and how they've shaped English language, well, I think it was suppressed in that process because it was like this super shady guy who might have been Francis Bacon, who knows, right? But they quite literally shaped the English language as we know it today. And then obviously King James, that's a whole other thing. But point being that the way he was talking about it, he goes, listen, it's not about manifesting demons. And Crowley thought that the Goetia was actually our mind. So these demons were our mind, right? These the keys of Solomon, they were aspects of ourself. You have Carl Jung that talks about like the shadow self and how the shadow self will reveal certain things to you once you're able to tap into that. And the thing that my boy said was, he said it's a way of convincing yourself, of bringing forth that mindset. You mentioned the placebo effect earlier. Well, the placebo effect, I believe, is true magic, because you're inducing and you're creating a biological change within yourself by mind alone. So you're quite literally shifting your DNA by thinking about something and making it come true. So in a way, that's probably what magic is, if it was to be a thing, because one of the Hermetic principles is all is mind. So it's probably mental in some sort of way, and not so much, hey, fuck me in the ass and I'm going to be, summoning Choronzon, because that's also another thing that Crowley was into. But maybe he just liked getting fucked in the ass. Who knows, right? Like, listen, if you want to get pegged, just say you want to get pegged, and not that it's to summon some demons, right? So,
it was Choronzon, bro.
Well, during that encounter, he was being railed by Victor Nuremberg. I don't know if you know the story.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah,
it was the homie.
Listen, bro, if you... Listen, whatever happens, just be true to yourself. Moral of the story is be true to yourself, right? Be honest with yourself and open about whatever you like, right? So homeboy was trying to like probably talk people into doing certain things. He was like, yo, we're going to have to do this.
We got to suck each other's dicks, guys.
Suck each other's dicks again, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, not again, Crowley. Yeah, unfortunately.
We were over there.
Like the two angels that told Edward Kelly and John Dee, like, yo, you guys got to do what? He's like, yo, the angels are telling me to do. You're not going to believe me, bro, when I tell you. What are they telling you? We got to swap wives, bro. It's like, oh, shit, for real? It's like, yeah. And he was so stupid that he believed them and he did it. So again, it's these people that get in these reality tunnels and they do whatever it is that whatever it is, bro. What are you willing to give up? Well, dude got cucked by his boy in order to what? For the angels to reveal to them the secrets of the universe. So he got cucked for the secrets of the universe. What are you willing to get cucked for, bro? Are you willing to get cucked for the secrets of the universe, or what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you going to give up, bro, for the exchange of whatever, power, wealth, money, whatever? Who cares? Whatever. It's like, what are you willing to do? Well, John Dee did that, and Crowley was doing that. So, just throw another one in the bucket. It won't matter, bro. It's just and nothing but a chicken wing.
For Choronzon. That's who I did it for.
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't no gay shit.
Yeah, point being that it's about I love the way that Narco Longo put it, because it's a way of convincing yourself, putting yourself in this attracting this mindset and entering that mindset, entering perhaps another sort of reality, to warping your reality to manifest whatever it is that you're willing to, that you want. So I think that, but the problem with these guys was that they wanted to do it as quickly as possible. And so that's why they were willing to cross the abyss and get railed in the desert and fight with Choronzon, because they wanted it faster. They wanted it. But guess what, bro? They died penniless. Yeah. They died alone, drug addicted, right? So if there was something to this aspect that we call magic or the occult, and it was actually real, you would think that Crowley, out of all the people, I mean, he was rich and then became poor. So, he was an heir to this great fortune. And he died penniless. Don't you think that if he was actually in touch with a higher power, he would have manipulated to his best ability and not get addicted to heroin and all these other drugs and die by himself? You know what I'm saying? Like, he would have manipulated reality and stepped outside of it, how they say, and manifested more riches, or put himself in a better position than he was. But look at Osman Spar, another one, right? One of the greatest occultists of all time of chaos magic. Same thing, died penniless, right? Like, these guys that were so powerful, like these great occultists, these great wizards and sorcerers, they were doing all this crazy shit. Yet, they were nobodies. They were fucking losers at the end of the day. So that's why I think that there is something to this magic in the occult, but then I think of like cases like that, and it just makes me think like, it's just probably just ramblings of madmen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they're trying to
Kind of sell you the brand.
role play. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what they're doing.
Damn. That's funny because it's almost kind of like that religion thing too. You know what I mean? You say something kind of outrageous, and like the shill thing. Kind of the reason people get attracted to shills is because they say outrageous things too. You know what I mean? And kind of tell you what you want to hear. You know what I mean? Because nobody else is saying it that's real with you, and so you look into their shit, and by then you're kind of part of the cult, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, everybody likes to hear what they want to hear. I mean, I like hearing stuff that I like too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love hearing that everything's a homunculus and everything's related to alchemy. But I mean, if that's the reality, that's a whole nother thing, right? That's a whole nother conversation. But,
So just to cap off the demon stuff, because no, I'm like I said, I'm scared of that shit. Are there any parts of your research that you won't touch? Like you mentioned when you looked into demons and stuff, something happened on your computer. One person that we really are, to kind of draw inspiration and information from is Mr. Mythos, and he had this demonology video. And didn't he say something about like as he was doing, his computer was messing up too or some shit? You know what I mean?
I haven't seen that one, but I do watch Mr. Mythos. I think he's fucking great.
I don't want to watch it, but I mean, it's on my save for watch later.
Well, I mean, also it's clickbait, but it would. So the reason that I've had weird things happen to me now, is it demons? I don't know, but when I'm around certain people and in the community who are, so I had a friend of mine. We have a mutual person that we do episodes with. Not to say any names, but when I recorded with him, my stuff started acting up. Now, what is that? I don't know. But when he's under attack by something. And when my friend recorded with him, there was a demon the whole time, like talking into the mic as they were talking. Again, they had to throw away like the recording. Now, again, I've had weird instances where a very long time ago, when I first started podcasting, I recorded with somebody. And it was like, I don't know what happened to the recording, but I was answering things that he like. I was answering things before he was saying them, and then he would like. It was like this whole weird conversation that I don't remember happened, and I just had to chalk out the whole thing. But then when I talked to him about it, he told me it was like some, he was being watched or under attack by the supernatural thing. And then I've had people tell me, for example, I don't know if you guys know Tracy Twyman, where they were translating this book about Baphomet. And Baphomet's the entity and that's the book right there, the Baphomet Temple Mystery Unveiled. They were translating this very old manuscript, and the guy that was translating it was experiencing brain fog, poltergeist activity because he was translating. And again, it goes back to this idea that words, when I've had an occultist tell me that when they're written down, it's solidified. And I call that interdimensional literature, this literature that is able to affect reality. So if you look at any religious scripture, it affects reality. Like the Bible, the King James Version, which was a guy who was afraid of the occult, according to what he was writing about. He was terrified of the occult. He wrote about demonology. He wrote about witches. He wrote about demons. He wrote about doing pacts with demons. He wrote about all this. King James, the one that is attributed to the King James Version of the Bible. But there's something about writing it down, right? When they say it's written in stone, well, that's quite literally has an effect on reality. It resonates at a much deeper level. When you read something out loud with you, like if you want to read about demons and shit like that, like I wouldn't worry about it too much, because not only do you need to know how to say it, you need to say in a certain cadence, you need to say in a certain way, you need to say either out loud or, in your mind. So there's ways to go about it, and that's why you shouldn't fuck with the occult. And Enochian is actually one of the more powerful systems from what I've read of like getting in touch with entities, because it's like the more purest form of whatever it is that they're getting at. And then when you add a physical medium to that, like when you add a tablet that the entity is able to manifest into, that's where the red flags go off, because you're giving this incorporeal thing a way of manifesting. And I mean, that's what maybe computers are. They're a way for these things to manifest quicker. And that's at the core of what I mentioned earlier, Leibniz and him being obsessed with Descartes. Well, Descartes created the Cartesian coordinate system, which is at the core of any 3D modeling system ever. And I do CAD/CAM, so I have experience with like 3D modeling. And the Cartesian coordinate system is a sort of manifestation tool that these guys brought into existence in what, 16th, 15th century, whatever century it was that he was alive. But point being that if you give an entity a physical medium, that's where the red flags are at. And I think that's what's happening right now with technology.
Yeah, and phones and shit, right?
All this crazy shit. So again, bro, I wouldn't worry about it too much, but I also wouldn't go, when you stare into the abyss starts to stare back. And you know how they say, don't become the monster that you're
looking at,
because that's a real thing.
Talking about writing it down makes it powerful. That kind of ties in back to what you said about the golem, right? Like just fucking forgetting to erase one letter from the word can fuck everything up.
Yeah.
So that's 100%. Fucking crazy. And you spoke about your experiences at a Protestant church where they speak in tongues. Is speaking in tongues kind of like Enochian, or is that something else?
It's like it's the language of the angels. You don't understand it. It's glossolalia, so it's like speaking divine. It's a divine tongue. It's a tongue of the other side, I guess you will. And when people speak in it, they go into like a sort of trance. And they're talking.
That's wild.
Yeah. So that's Pentecostal. And I think other denominations do that, but that's the one I came from. I'm Puerto Rican, so Puerto Ricans usually are either some Catholics, but I would go to Pentecostal all my life, and I grew up watching them, people jumping around, dancing, feigning, stuff like that. So
that's what I grew up as well. I mean, initially as a child, going to like a Latino, Central American style church, it was Pentecostal, and
for real,
the loud music, the dancing, the tambourines, just all that stuff.
That's what's up. So yeah, man, we won't keep you much longer, man, and we just wanted to end the show with some rapid questions where we just shoot out questions and you just answer them, man. So let's wrap it up that way. I want to start with, bro, if we were like, hey, I found an entrance to inner earth, bro, you down to come? Like, is that something that you're interested in to discover and explore, or we just kind of
family, bro? But I'd probably be down. Yeah.
Shit,
so
because
we found one.
Mount Shasta, right? Mount Shasta is one in Cali because we're from Cali.
Yeah, I've heard about that one, Mount Shasta. I've also heard about, I said Mammoth Cave. I've heard about, there's other ones. I don't, the whole missing 411. It's like, they're a long cave system. Yeah, I'd be down. Who knows? I mean, it's really interesting.
Shit. You guys, Danny Germain?
Well, I mean, I know I wasn't talking much because you were just spitting so much things that I'm learning just going with you, so I didn't want to add nonsense input, but as someone who wants to come up and just kind of read more into what you're saying in all these banned books, where is somewhere someone can find these banned books online to order? Because I'm definitely interested in reading more into it, because I don't know, I've been so interested in just like this dystopia world kind of ideas and all those things, and you just talk about this is like, damn, this is a crazy. There's more out there, and that's something I want to read into.
So I would start with, I have a Scribed is a really good subscription model, a subscription service. It's for books, and they have a lot of crazy like occult esoteric books on there, and I want to say it's like 12 books a month, but you go on there and it'll recommend you stuff, and I've like in my thing on there on my queue I have like 300 books, bro, because like every time I'll come up with like a new one, it's like, oh, that sounds fire, or like some document or something. And they have a lot of books too that you have to pay for. They're on there, like inner tradition books are on there, and they have a lot of esoteric and occult subjects. So I would start with that, bro, and I would start with the Secret Teachings by Manly P. Hall.
Okay.
Start with his stuff, And then that's just a tip. Go with that, see how you like it, digest that, because he'll give you like the heavy hitters of almost everything, boom, 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 and then anything after that is occult, and you need to like put in the work yourself. So I would look up, what I do is if I'm reading, if I want to learn about something, start off with the Wikipedia page, and then go to the sources. When they cite the work at the bottom, and you're gonna get a whole bunch of different books. Go into those books because they're only citing a little piece of information on the Wikipedia page, the We Keep Idea page, right? Wikipedia. And go and read that book. Look that book up, unscribed, and then pull up the book because they're citing one sentence out of a 300-page book. There's 299 other pages and a whole bunch of, of information that you can dig at of that subject, and you go from there. But again, find whatever it is that you like, whatever interests you the most, whatever makes your nipples hard, and then go with that. Don't pick something just because it's like, no. Find something. If you want to learn about John Dee, there's, I got like 16 books on John Dee. So there's a whole bunch of stuff on him that you can spend months on just learning about him. And then there's Edward Kelly. There's books on just Edward Kelly that you can spend months on, right? So again, just build on top of that. And I wouldn't focus too much on like the banned book stuff because that's propaganda.
You use ChatGPT?
I have used it before. I don't use it for anything. I use it to mess around when I'm on stream. I used it one time on stream. That's about it.
For this episode, I typed in, tell me about John Dee. Are there any books about it? So, better than Google.
Double check.
Yeah, that's it.
Double check because it creates sources too, by the way. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it'll create like fake sources because that was my boy, Paranoid American. Will sometimes be like fucking around and he'll type something in and it'll come up with like a fake book that sounds real. Like, yo, well, I've never heard about that book, and when you look it up, it's fake.
Fucking ChatGPT. Danny calls it ChatGPT.
Yeah, bro. So just be careful with that. I mean, again, you can't take shortcuts. What is it? Be weary of unearned wisdom. So, I mean. Some people want to take shortcuts, but it's like, what are you willing to give?
Right.
But my bad. I know you want to talk about a whole bunch of other stuff, and I just went on all these tangents and rants, and I don't think we talked about.
No, I think it was perfect though.
Yeah, that's what it's about, man.
I mean, that's what we kind of like doing here. We kind of like just going to where it leads.
We get lost and shit. You know what I mean? But
that's what the rabbit hole is, right? Going to wherever it leads, right? That's what
I don't know if we touch on any other points on the list.
Actually, we did.
We had this yogi. Shout out to Christina. We're gonna talk about yoga, but then we went down this rabbit hole in Disney, and it just never ended.
It's all good though.
It is what it is. It makes for
it happens. It happens a lot though. We have writing points, and then we just do something else. But it's cool. It all works out.
To kind of talk about the AI, I just heard, I believe it was today, I was listening to a podcast, and they mentioned AI is going to be the worst right now, or, because it's only going to continue to get better. So
that's obvious.
if you think it's crazy, the things that it's doing right now, especially with a lot of this deep fake stuff, it's crazy. How AI is just going to continue to develop and could be the future of even creativity. There's this video of this guy like just talking normal, like he's reading. I think it's a Kanye song, but he's just reading the lyrics like normal, and then the AI makes it sound like it's Kanye legit over some beat. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You guys haven't had a chance to check out the video, take a look. But where was I gonna go?
That was a sick question, bro.
Before I ask the question,
he's asking himself.
Before I ask the question too, I'm gonna say Tartaria is real. Anyways, no. My question being, since you don't want to, since touching demonology could be like a scary subject, such, what about angelology?
I think that's
What do you
just
think
creepy.
of that?
But
what about it? I mean, it's also.
Do you think it's the opposite? Would that be something that I'm more comfortable looking into that compared to
they could help me?
but then the demon would just pose as it, right?
Ain't that what John D and Edward Kelly did? They summoned guardian angels and started sucking each other's dicks.
Yeah, bro. They're like, yo, I want to see you guys fuck each other's wives. Yeah.
Hey, Gabriel said he won't come unless you fucking suck my dick, dog.
Yeah.
So I think that it's all about, right. We go back to the movie symbolism. I think that in this organic simulation, this matrix, whatever you want to call it, right? Super cliche, but there is like Star Wars. You have the Sith who use the Force for evil, and you have the Jedi who use the Force for good. But the Force is always the Force. The Force is there. You can tap into it. So magic is another. Think of the magic as like the Force, and you can tap into it. And then within that, within the ecosystem, there are forces and entities and things that are swimming around, if you will, within that you can also interact with. And some are quote unquote angels, and others are demons or whatever it is. I think that there is another. The name of my journal is Occultus Mundi, which means hidden world. So I do think that there is a reality overlaid over ours, and there is a whole ecosystem of things on the other side that exist. And if you want to call them angels or angles, or if you want to call them demons or daemons, whatever you want to call them, they're there, and you can perhaps sometimes interact with them through scrying or different methods. Maybe we could talk about that next time.
Yeah, look up scrying. Scrying's fucking crazy, yo.
It's a whole nother topic.
Yeah. So my question, bro. Danny, were you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
So just to leave off homunculus, there's a lot of people jacking off and just flushing that shit down the toilet. Are there homunculi in the fucking sewage systems running around and shit?
Listen, bro. Part of the Bigfoot lore, part of the Gremlin lore, part of the dwarf lore is that they're runaway homunculus. So you be the judge, bro. I don't know. Maybe Dogman is a homunculus, some type. Maybe it was alchemically made. Chimeras are part of the homunculus lore, and alchemists were mixing things together. So think about that. I mean, there is sightings of these creatures all over the world. I mean, cryptids are a real thing, and according to Paracelsus, a homunculus that grows into old age becomes a mythical, magical creature, perhaps. So I think it's connected, bro.
Fuck, man. All these dudes just jacking off and making fucking little homunculi in inner earth, bro.
100%.
Fuck, that's crazy.
Yeah, dude. That's you're bro. You're closer.
It's funny, but it's not funny.
Paracelsus said that a lot of things in this world are because giants would skeet on the earth back then, and it would become something.
Oh,
so
as you're looking up in the sky. Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, bro. I'm telling you, that dude was onto some shit. He was high 24/7.
Oh man.
Yeah, bro. One of the greatest alchemists of all time.
Not one dude said, "No, I'm good," when they said, "Nah, we gotta fuck each other." Not one dude said, "Yo, no."
Dude, I bet someone was like, "Hey, wait," and everybody kind of looked at him. But you know what I mean? They all wanted
fuck.
It was in the name of magic and alchemy, so they're like,
"It's not gay, if it's for magic." You know?
Yeah.
So,
Not one dude was like, "No, I think that's pretty gay."
yeah.
But it is plug and play because that shit does happen in other religions, man. So that's fucking crazy,
A lot of
right?
people fall for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Shit. Juan, thanks for coming on, man. Do you want to plug in any shows? I know you got a bunch of fucking shows now that you're doing, a lot of collabs. Want to plug any of them on? Where can we find you?
You can. My podcast is on any major podcast platform. One-on-one podcast. My website is tjojp.com, and you can find me on any social media platform at the One-on-One Podcast. I do have a YouTube One-on-One Podcast. I post. I'm going to start posting less on there because I got pinged for some episode that I did. And so my spicier episodes are going to be on Rockfin, rockfin.com/the101 podcast. We do have a Patreon, patreon.com/the101 podcast. You guessed it. And yeah, man, I will send you my link tree. You could just post that. And if you want to find me, my main account is Instagram. So hit me up on there.
Oh, yeah. Juan on Juan podcast on
This is fun, bro.
Podcast.
I had fun.
Yeah,
Let me know
man.
when this is out on YouTube.
For sure. Definitely will.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you want to stay connected with us, make sure you join the Discord. continue the conversation and get access to members only events where you can win prizes. And it's free for now, but it won't be later. Juan, thanks for coming on. Guys, thank you. It was a good episode. Peace
Thanks, bro.
out.
Guys.
See ya.